week, no class in 2 weeks.
If I'm here, I think I'm here. I'll be Shabbos there.
Good. Where are you going in 2 weeks? Got a wedding to go to?
Yeah.
Naturally.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right.
Wedding I'll be missing. My second cousin is making a wedding in Chicago, wants me to come. I think I'm going to miss it. Okay. Oh.
Who are we missing? Oh, yes, our friend.
Okay. Welcome. You think I know this by heart. Welcome to
No,
Garden of the Spirit, a class studying apples from the orchard for the second time beginning after Pesach 2014. This class meets in Longmeadow, Massachusetts, the center of the universe, and is held in memory of Malka Ruth Bas Moshe, Margaret Vogel of blessed memory. Apples from the Orchard contains selections of teachings of Kabbalah from the Arizal, Rabbi Yitzchak Luria, based on the weekly Torah portion, superbly translated and explained by Rabbi Moshe Wisniewski. We are up to Parsha Bechukotai, like last week, and page 683. What?
Waiting for the notes. There we go.
Okay, you didn't really need notes this time. Let's go here and here. Okay. Hashem says, if you follow my statutes, I will give rain in its time. The land will yield its produce, and trees of the field will give their produce. Oops. Okay, a lot of produce there.
Yeah.
We usually read this as Hashem's reward for keeping mitzvahs. The Arizal says this comes across also or more as a plea for the people to keep the mitzvahs. Hashem seems to be using a carrot and stick approach. Please keep my mitzvahs, not just, hey, if you keep them, this is going to happen. You don't keep them, that's going to happen. But please keep them so that this will happen. Elsewhere, it's written that the reward for mitzvahs is not in this world, rather, the world to come. So good things that happen in this world are not the reward for the mitzvah. Why would the Torah here state these material blessings as a reward for mitzvahs? And I should tell you that elsewhere it explains, in case you were wondering, that when we keep mitzvahs and things go well or go smoothly in this world, it's not done as a reward, but that if we observe mitzvahs, Hashem makes it easier for us to keep mitzvahs. So that we're following, Hashem makes sure that things are peaceful, that economics are good, that there's harmony, and so on, so that we are free, we have a free mind, and we're free to study Torah and do mitzvahs. But that's not the reward for it. The real reward comes in the world to come. Okay? Alan, are you ready?
I'm ready. Bechukotai, the transmigration of souls. If you will follow my laws and faithfully observe my commandments, I will grant your rains in their season, so that the earth shall yield its produce and the trees of the field their fruit. It is fitting that we understand these words, which read as if Hashem is trying to convince and entice the Jewish people, telling them that if they do such and such, they will receive such and such reward. The tenor of these verses at face value is not that they describe a simple cause and effect relationship, but that Hashem is trying to coax us into observing his commandments with the promise of reward.
Go ahead.
Furthermore, the reward seems to be blessings of material beneficence. And our sages have told us that the true reward for keeping Hashem's commandments awaits us in the afterlife.
All right, number 3. Actually, in discussing the physical blessings, the Torah refers to souls going through migration. Okay, while the Torah is discussing physical blessings, it's actually referring to souls that are going through transmigration. They can travel through the 4 domains: the mineral domain, the vegetable domain, the animal domain, and the human domain. The souls, that is.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Alan.
The explanation is that this passage alludes to the concept of transmigration of souls.
Continue.
As you know, the soul is initially reincarnated in the mineral or vegetable kingdoms, and afterwards ascends into the animal kingdom, that is, cattle. If it merits further, it ascends to the kingdom of man. Transmigration is the means by which the soul atones for the sins it committed in its first human lifetime. In the words of the Arizal, keep going.
No.
Okay.
As will be explained shortly, after a person dies, the soul can be reincarnated through the various domains for an allotted time. Yes, go ahead now.
The soul descends to be incarnated into these lower forms of existence for the time allotted to it, as I, Rabbi Chaim Vital, have explained at length in my book recording the Arizal's exposition on transmigration. In order to understand this concept more fully, we will interrupt the present citation from Sefer Halakitum and quote from the work of Rabbi Chaim from the work Rabbi Chaim Vital refers to.
Now, 5. Our text began with a short selection from Sefer Halikutim. Likutim means a collection, like an essay, collection of essays. Now it quotes for several pages from Sefer HaGilgulim. Gilgulim are reincarnations. The book of the Arizal on transmigrations. I do use those words here interchangeably, transmigrations and reincarnations. What does it say there? So now we're going to go to the other book.
Not the same thing.
Why not? What's the difference?
Reincarnation is typically a human to a human. Transmigration means that you could wind up in a rock.
Iraq?
Yeah, if you want, that could be too.
Okay. So they're very good point. I was thinking that too. Basically, I use them here interchangeably, even though there's differences between them. Okay, yeah, so Gilgulim usually means reincarnation or transmigration, both. Oh.
They were the same.
Okay, so what he says here, so anyways, we're taking a different book. So it's not a continuation of the text. And then at the last page, we'll come back to the original text. Almost no one is spared transmigration for their soul after they die. And don't ask me any question on this, okay? I don't know. I'm not the expert. I don't write the news, I just report it. Almost no one is spared transmigration for their soul after they die. For wicked people, their souls enter Gehenna to be purged of all impurities. Gehenna is typically a fire. This is the painful process, referred to as the punishment of Gehenna, is to be purged of it's actually a purge of all the impurities that a person picked up over the course of their lifetime. For the most wicked people, the process can last up to 12 months. Okay, go ahead, Alan.
There is almost no person on earth that is spared such transmigration. The wicked, after their death, enter purgatory, Gehenna, and receive their punishment and atonement there. Their judgment there lasts 12 months. Although the Arizal uses the term punishment, it is important to remember that the suffering the soul endures in Gehenna and in being reincarnated is meant to scour or purify it from the spiritual filth that it accrued during its lifetime by transgressing the commandments of the Torah. This purification process enables it to progress afterwards to higher levels of afterlife. Thus, the punishment is an expression of Hashem's mercy, an opportunity for the soul to rid itself of the existential excretion of that incrustation of sin that prevents it from experiencing the higher levels of spirituality that await it in reward for the good it performed during its lifetime. The suffering of the soul in Gehenna can be alleviated by someone saying Kaddish for it. This is why the custom is to say Kaddish for only 11 months after the person's death. Saying Kaddish the full 12 months would imply that the individual was completely wicked and requires the full term of purification in Gehenna.
Okay. The Navi relates that Abigail, a righteous woman, addressed David while Saul was still king. There's a whole thing. Her husband was immensely wealthy. David, at that time, I guess, was like a nomad with his gang of merry men. They assisted, they protected the property of Abigail's husband, and then they came to ask him for food. They had nothing to eat. He wouldn't give them. David was going to go kill Naval, and the wife came to ask David to spare him. In the end, her husband had a big party. He got sick, maybe some kind of food poisoning. He got sick at the party, and he languished for 10 days, and then he died. I'm just joking about the food poisoning. So she addressed David, and she said this: "May my Lord's soul be bound in the bond of life with Hashem, your God." That's what we say by the funerals, and on the gravestones, Tehei Nafshat Sur B'Sarchaim. Then she said, "May he hurl away the soul of your enemies as one shoots a stone from a slingshot or from a catapult." And the word for the slingshot or catapult is kafakela. And with that, she said, "You should be bound with the bond of life, and your enemies," meaning King Shaul, who put a bounty in your head, may Hashem hurl away the soul of your enemies. From here, we see this as one of the punishments of the soul, called kaf hakela. Kaf is a spoon-shaped object, like a catapult. Kela means to fling. Usually, this punishment is compared to the souls being flung like a slingshot or catapult. This occurs even before the soul enters Gehenna. Here, it refers to the various transmigrations the soul endures, in the sense that it is flung from one transmigration to another. The goal is, in all this, for the soul to be purged of its worst impurities so that it can enter Gehenna, where standard impurities are purged. And I think in some places it says that this punishment is for this kind of sin, that punishment is for that kind of sin. It's like a
In Tanya.
yes, it's mentioned in Tanya. It's like a washing machine. It goes through different cycles, or the dishwasher, right? There's the wash, the rinse, the spin.
Cold water.
Cold water, hot water.
Certain stains, hot water for others.
So you gotta have all the cycles to clean your clothes and to clean the soul. Okay. Jim, would you like to continue at the bottom of 684?
So there is almost no person on earth.
Next paragraph.
The next one.
People.
Okay, the next one?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, that's right. We did encrustation. To certain wicked people, however, is applied the verse, "He will fling away the lives of your enemies in the hollow of the sling." They do not merit entering purgatory immediately after their death in order to be cleansed of their sin. whether their soul descends from level to level through various incarnations until their sins have been scoured away sufficiently so that it may then enter purgatory for 12 months and attain full atonement. The punishment of the hollow of the sling, kaf hakela, is here defined as reincarnation. It is taught that a person can avoid this experience, is by, during their lifetime, by during their lifetime spending as much of the day as possible as reciting passages from the Mishnah, Tanya, and the Psalms by heart.
Okay, thanks. Now, while time in Gehenna is limited to 12 months, the time in transmigrations can last multiple years, even 1,000. That is some judge.
Right. There is no set time for these cases. Sometimes a soul can progress through its incarnations for 20 years, or 100 or 1,000, all depending upon the seriousness of the sins that it committed in this world.
The process for righteous people is different. Their souls are not singed by the fires of Gehenna. Instead, they are reincarnated to cleanse their souls. Even if they have not committed a sin, they need to be cleansed from times that they were not as good as they should have been. So that too is called a fault. Okay, and we have the sins are, like we have in the Torah, those are sins. So sometimes a person doesn't commit an outright sin, but they didn't do the mitzvah as well as they should have or could have. Okay, go ahead.
So in contrast, the fire of purgatory does not singe the souls of the righteous and Torah scholars. Therefore, they must be reincarnated into this world in order to scour them from whatever sins they may have done. For there is no one that has not committed some sin. Thus, for the righteous, reincarnation is a lighter purification process, after which they enter paradise directly. For the wicked, however, reincarnation entails more suffering, and only after finishing reincarnation process can they proceed to Gehenna. So, reincarnation for the righteous is in this world, it looks like, and then then they go to paradise after they die.
That's what it
seems to say. Okay, yeah.
Although, once they're in this world, I mean, let's say, just for example, that last time I was here, I was like a really righteous dude.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I have some minor stuff that I need to fix. So I come in through this world again, and I really mess it up this time.
Yeah, or you didn't finish it off, and you keep coming back.
I'm out. I'm paroling. I violate my parole.
Yeah, or you're just you haven't finished.
But now I picked up all these new issues.
Oh yeah, you can go a lot backwards. Sure.
Like, you came to do a favor for a friend.
That's it.
Yeah.
When a righteous person dies, he endures suffering to cleanse him for more serious sins. He is then brought to the first level of paradise. Before he enters the next level, he is again cleansed from more subtle sins. And again, before entering the next level, he is cleansed from even more subtle sins. So as you go up, you need to get out the sins, more and more subtle faults.
More purification.
Yeah. So, you can have something as whatever. How well is it cleaned?
It has always been.
To go when you go out to eat, or if you're going to a what's called dinner and you're going to be on stage.
Yeah.
So when we're in paragraph 10, that purification is through reincarnation or just something in situ in paradise, wherever that is. So it's
It
again.
seems it seems like it could be it doesn't say it here, but it says in the other paragraph. Seems like it's through reincarnation.
Okay.
And maybe I
So-
have to apologize to my last lifetime. Hey, I came here to fix things up. I made it worse.
That free will business.
The what?
The free will business.
Free will. Okay, go ahead,
When a,
Jim.
when a righteous person dies, he's thus ready to ascend the ladder of sublime levels of paradise. This does not happen all at once. Rather, immediately after death, he's subjected to suffering in order to cleanse him of the more serious sins. Only after this, he's brought into the first level of paradise. When his turn comes to ascend to a higher, more sublime level, he's again subjected to suffering in order to cleanse him of more subtle sins. He can then enter the second, higher level of paradise. After this, he's again subjected to suffering in order to cleanse him of the sin of transgressing the minor details of mitzvah performance. Then he is ushered into the true fitting place, his true fitting place in paradise. Okay, so then there's Chaim Vital writing the teachings now relates another following incident.
Rabbi Chaim Vital relates that there were times he would walk with the Arizal in a field. The Arizal would point to a stone or a plant and mention a certain righteous man who was incarnated in the stone or plant. The person was not known to them, but they meaning the students, looked into it afterwards and found out more about that person. And whatever the Arizal said was validated.
So it happened a few times. I was walking in the field with my teacher. May his memory be for a blessing. He said to me, behold, there was a certain person named so-and-so who was a tzaddik and a Torah scholar, but because he committed such and such sin during his lifetime, he is now incarcerated into this stone or this plant, etc. My teacher of blessed memory never knew these people, and we students would investigate the history of these departed souls, and we invariably found the facts to be in accordance with his words. I'm not going to go into this length because I could never recount all the times this happened.
And 12 other times he would look out over a cemetery with thousands of graves and see a soul on a grave far away. He would tell his students who the person was and what punishment he was going through for what sins. They would research and find it to be accurate.
Other times, he would gaze at a grave 500 cubits away amongst 20,000 other graves. He would see the soul of the person buried there standing on the grave. He would tell us that so-and-so is buried in that grave and he is undergoing such and such a punishment for having committed such and such a sin. We would inquire after this person and always find it to be, as my teacher said, we were witnesses to many amazing things like that.
Okay, so if you know, you go in the north of Israel around Tzfat,
Yep.
and there are a lot of ancient graves. Or graves from the times of the Tanaim, from the times of the Mishnah or Gemara, going back 2,000 years. They were identified. I think most of them, many of them, were identified by the Arizal. So he says, after a person dies, he goes through multiple cleansing cycles: wash cycle, spin cycle, rinse cycle, several reincarnations even before he reaches Gehenna. His sins must first be purged as a soul within a body, whether that body is of the mineral domain, vegetable domain, animal domain, or even the human domain. The soul experiences suffering that leads to atonement. Gershon, would you like to continue? 686 in the middle of the page.
To return to our discussion, after an individual dies, he is repaid for his sins in various forms of reincarnation before he enters purgatory. That is, It can be reincarnated in an inanimate object, a plant, an animal, or in a person. Almost no one can avoid being reincarnated, since the soul cannot experience the suffering required to cleanse him of the effects of his sin unless he has become rematerialized in a soul-body combination. Only then, having been reincarnated, can he suffer and feel the pain and thus achieve atonement.
Okay, 14. The degree and extent of the reincarnations correlates to the sins. The more grievous the sins, the more transmigrations, and the lower the domain. Even the righteous may need the suffering of transmigration for their minor or subtle sins.
The degree and extent of the reincarnation, that means into which kingdom he is reincarnated, is a function of the seriousness of his sins. This is why there are even some tzaddikim and Torah scholars that undergo reincarnation, as we have said, on account of some sin that they stumble over during their lifetimes.
Okay. So creation occurred as the result of the Sphirot of Tohu that crashed. The most refined shards or sparks landed in Atzilus, the less refined in Bria, and so too for Yetzirah and then Asiya. Within Asiya, the most refined landed in the human domain, the less refined in the animal domain, then the vegetable domain, and finally the mineral domain. Abigail, this is the concept of funnels, of sales funnels, right here. Okay, go ahead, Gershon.
We have explained elsewhere that all the worlds were created from the ruins of the 7 primordial kings that ruled in the land of Edom and then died. That means the world of Tohu that collapsed. The purest remains of this world were absorbed into the world of Atzilus. What was too coarse to be absorbed into Atzilus was absorbed into the world of Beria, then Yetzirah, and finally Asiya. The purest elements that descended to Asiya were absorbed into the human kingdom, followed by the animal kingdom, the vegetable kingdom, and finally the mineral kingdom. A righteous person, through his deeds and the mitzvahs he performs through eating and such, has the power to elevate the sparks of holiness in the mineral kingdom to the level of the vegetable kingdom, and then to the level of animal kingdom, and finally to the level of human kingdom.
I was going to read 15 and 16 together. A righteous person, through the mitzvahs performed by eating, for example, has the power to elevate shards of holiness from the mineral to the vegetable to the animal and to the human domain. How far do we go here? 21. Okay, or 20. 17. A person whose sins causes sparks of holiness to descend in the opposite direction, from the human domain to the animal, to the vegetable, and even to the mineral. A person whose sins may be reincarnated into objects from the mineral, vegetable, and animal kingdom depends on the damage. A person whose sins may be reincarnated depends on the damage done by his sin. People stay in the reincarnation as long as it takes to purge their souls of the sins they committed. This is like, walking the bases full and then walking in a run. Okay.
So you say someone who dies young
Hmm.
had purged their soul, so they don't need to be in that reincarnation anymore.
Maybe.
Hmm.
It's I just think if someone dies, whatever. All the reasons in the world, it's still sad. Ay. Okay. But you could be right, Abigail. Okay, Gershon, go ahead.
The wicked person, in contrast, through his deeds, causes the exact opposite to happen. He causes a spark of holiness to descend. Some sins cause the sparks of holiness in man to descend to the level of the inanimate kingdom, others to the level of the vegetable kingdom or animal kingdom. Therefore, in correspondence to their sin, some wicked people after their death are reincarnated into a stone, while others are reincarnated into vegetables or animals. When a person commits a sin, he's betraying the divine image within him. He's not acting like a human being who is meant to rule over creation and elevate it to divinity. He's rather stooping to the level of the object he is committing the sin with, and, at least for the duration of the sin, subjecting himself to its rule over him. The dynamic applies both to the bona fide sins and subtler forms of submission to the evil inclination as well. For example, let's say a person has a sensual urge to eat chocolate cake. It's not Shabbos or any other occasion in whose honor he can justify eating the cake. And he'd already eaten his meal, so he cannot justify the indulgence with claims of real hunger. No.
You know, I have to say, my mother-in-law has a cake recipe that's called Death by Chocolate. Very
Yes.
appropriate.
Had it.
You've had it. Okay.
Yes.
Then we would be justified. Anyhow, that's my opinion.
It has the de-encrustation built into the cake, death by chocolate.
Yes.
Cleans it as it smudges you.
Yeah, we get incrusted in the middle, the middle area. No, the sole motivation for this piece of cake is pure, unadulterated sensual indulgence. Furthermore, this is glad kosher cake, and eating it entails no transgression of waiting between meal and dairy food. So the indulgence is not a sin per se, but that moment, at least, he's subservient
You
to the
skipped a
power.
line.
What?
You skipped a line.
If the person succumbs to his urge and eats the cake, he is demonstrating that. At that moment, at least, he's subservient to the power the cake has over him. He has taken his divine spark, animating him at that moment, and brought it down to the level of the cake. He becomes, in effect, not a human person, but a cake person. Okay. You are what you eat. Okay. Moreover, he has, to a certain extent, brought the whole level of creation down to this level. So
What's
long
a
as
not
this,
kosher cake though?
It's kosher.
he says it's not a sin because it's not kosher, it's a sin because he succumbs to the power of the cake.
But the reason we like the cake is because our brain releases dopamine. Because it wants us to eat something fattening and sugary so we don't die. When the famine comes, I mean, that's true.
No, it's not. See, it's not hunger. So it's not die. It's to have the indulgence of
That's
the
that
peace,
dopamine hit that we want
the
so much.
pleasure. Yes, the pleasure. Yes.
Yeah, well, whatever you can justify it, you know.
No,
But then if it's the dopamine hit, then it's mineral, right? It's not even the cake that was a vegetable, it's mineral. We're looking for chemicals.
but
Right. You
it's
get trying to get the high one way or another.
it's the pleasure. Yeah. So long as this cakeness and cake identity remains with him, this individual cannot expect to be admitted to the chambers of paradise, where the delights of this world are insignificant and the soul basks in the glow of the divine presence. He has, on the contrary, demonstrated that he is into much coarser delights. He must therefore be cleansed of his cake mentality. This is accomplished by being reincarnated into the vegetable kingdom, where he can experience the pain of his soul, which is used to the freedom of expression and movement of a human being trapped in the vegetable identity. In other words, he must experience the same descent he put his soul and the world through when he ate the cake.
Okay, I'm sorry. Gershon and Rudy, what are you thinking?
My father used to kid, people smoke a lot, correct? So they offer him a cigarette, says, oh, minor pleasures, minor vices. And he never specified what are the higher vices, but this paragraph is very appropriate.
No, Gershon and Rudy, you guys, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking about some science fiction movie where the person dies and gets reincarnated into grains.
Cocoa bean.
Ground into
A cocoa bean.
cocoa bean. What do you mean? He gets sold as a Duncan Hines cake mix.
Yeah, or
Betty
with the
Crocker.
cocoa bean beforehand. Then you get ground
Crusted
up.
schnitzel cake.
He gets sold as a Duncan Hines as a Betty Crocker cake mix.
Hmm.
And it's a flavor that he loves.
And crusted schnitzel cake.
Schnitzel cake.
But
A
he's
schnitzel cake,
Way
of
back
course.
when class is done. Okay.
Blonde brownies.
yeah.
Mm.
Okay. Let's see.
Those are dangerous.
Really
What,
good.
the blonde brownies?
I'm
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
think I'm gonna think some poor blonde lady.
No, no, it's a flavor. It's
We
a flavor of the cake mix
buy
called blonde
something-
brownie.
we wanted to buy something to give to the food bank, and brownies were on sale. So I bought like these bunch of brownie boxes. They're in my trunk because I didn't get them done on time. There's people in my trunk that have been reincarnated
There's
as
people there.
brownies.
Okay, so now, oh, we have one more. A person who sins, we said this. People stay in the reincarnation as long as it takes. Abigail, would you like to continue? Bottom of 687.
Those who undergo these reincarnations remain there for a fixed amount of time until the sin that caused them to be reincarnated into the vegetable kingdom is expunged. Then, when this time is over, they ascend into the animal kingdom. When this time is over, they ascend into the human kingdom. We now return to the passage from Sefer HaLikutim, with which we began the discussion.
Okay,
Okay.
this is the end of the passage from Sefer HaGilgulim. The text now returns to Sefer Likutim that discuss the blessings and the produce as a result of following the Torah. Beginning we said, if you follow my laws and faithfully observe my commandments, I will grant you rains in their season, that the earth shall yield its produce, and the trees of the trees of the field their fruit. So those, he's going to say that when those things happen and we eat the we eat the fruit, we're elevating the souls that got caught there.
Oh,
There you go.
That's what we're gonna do next. 19. I think this is okay. So the Torah informs us that if we follow the Torah, we'll be able to elevate the souls and the produce, the land, the trees, etc., 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 etc.
So I
Dr.
should
G.
put away my brownies. I should cook them and say a bracha on them.
That's right.
Of course.
Very fat, helping all the souls.
Yeah.
Thus the Torah says, if you will follow my laws and faithfully observe my commandments, I will grant your rains in their season, so that the earth shall yield its produce and the trees of the field their fruit. You will eat and be satisfied, and the souls that are present within the food will ascend to your level. The ascent of the souls incarnated in the food a person eats is subject to him following God's laws and faithfully observing his commandments. That is, he must preserve his divine level while engaged in eating. Otherwise, as we said, he does not elevate the divine sparks or souls within the food, but falls to its level.
Okay, 20. Now, one of the blessings says, you shall eat your bread and be full, and you will reside securely in your land. And this is a reference to the souls in the produce and the land that will be elevated. He doesn't explain how. We had this last week in my Dvar Torah, that to reside securely in your land means apparently that the land is secure. Not that you're secure, but that the land is secure with God or with holiness. And so apparently it means that you're going to eat and then take care. The land will be repaired, refined through that. The souls in the land will be refined through that. Okay, go ahead, Abigail.
This is the mystical meaning of the verse, and you shall eat your bread to satiation, right? And dwell securely in your land.
Okay, now, so actually, he points out that the souls are elevated through the kingdoms. I don't like that word. At different times during the year. A, souls rise from the mineral to the vegetable domains during of Elul, Tishrei, and Cheshvan. Souls rise from the vegetable to the animal domains during Nisan, Iyar, Sivan, and Tammuz. So and then C, souls rise from the animal to the human domains during Kislev, Teves, Shvat, and Adar. So in other words, it comes out here is that souls are at the lowest level, in the middle domain. Come the 4 months of Elul, Tishrei, and Cheshvan, they're able to rise to the vegetable domain. Then after Cheshvan, they wait 4 months till Nisan. They wait 4 months till Nisan, and then they're able during Nisan Iyar, Sivan and Tammuz, which is now, they're able to rise from the vegetable to the animal. Then they need to wait 4 months, and then during Kislev, Teves, Nadar, they could rise from the animal to the human. But hey, what do they say? Hurry up and wait.
But as soon as they get to the human domain, they can sin again. But when they were in the mineral and the animal, they couldn't express themselves, but they also couldn't screw their life up.
Yeah, so we mentioned this before. And I don't know what the answer is. Like I said, I said I'm gonna go apologize to my former lifetime. I came here to fix, and I made things worse,
Now the souls reincarnated in lower forms of life do not ascend at all times. Rather, there is a proper time for each ascent to occur. Specifically, someone who has been reincarnated into the mineral kingdom only ascends into the vegetable kingdom during the 4 months of Av, Elul, Tishrei, and Heshvan. Someone who has been reincarnated into the vegetable kingdom only ascends into the animal kingdom during the 4 months of Nisan, Iyar, Sivan, and Tammuz. One ascends from the animal kingdom to the human level during Kislev, Teves, Shavat, and Adar.
It's like the wheels of justice turn slowly. No one's in a rush in the Bureau of Prisons. One moment. Okay, no class next week or the following week. That's June 11th or June 18th. No class. I do plan following week, probably maybe a different night, if that's possible. Maybe Wednesday night, from the 18th, 25th, maybe the 26th. Maybe we'll have something. We'll see what's going on. I think does that make sense? Wednesday the 26th?
I have class 6:45.
What?
I have a class that ends at 6:45.
Okay, because I don't think I'm available that Tuesday. So I'll keep you updated. Hopefully I'll remember to to message you all. Next week is, of course, Shavuos.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to wish everyone a happy Shavuos. We say Kabbalah, Satorah, B'simcha, B'pnimius, that we should stand ready to receive the Torah with joy and